Questions I get on a weekly basis are things like, what do I play over changes? I need more rhythmic ideas. I don't know what to play over modal tunes. How do I improve my sound? How do I improve my time feel? What about ear training? What should I be listening to? How do I transcribe? And the answer to almost every one of them, while there's lots of subsets of specific things that you can be doing to address each one of those things directly, the large sort of overarching umbrella answer is listening. The answer is in listening. And the truth is that all of the answers to all of your questions are already out there. They're just in the recorded music that we have available to us, and you have to just go get them. But that's a very overwhelming task now. I mean, when I was starting to play jazz, you know, learning the saxophone, playing the jazz. When I started learning to play the jazz in the 90s, I had to go hunting for albums. Like, it was a real challenge. Once a year or so, I'd make a little pilgrimage to New York and go to the HMV Records on 86th and Lexington, which is now a Best Buy. Some of my early influences are because of some of those trips. So I went up one summer, and prominently displayed were a Stan Getz and a Joe Henderson album, and I picked them both up mostly because of their shirts. Stan looked really dapper. Joe had this multicolored silk blouse shirt on and was all hunched over. I thought, this guy's gotta be cool. The point of this is that I would then take those albums home and just devour them and study them, and like, not study them like sit there and take notes, but I only had a couple albums, so I would listen to them so much in headphones, in car trips, on plane trips, in the, you know, everywhere. Fall asleep to them. I mean, it was just, I was really saturating myself with some of that music. And now with Spotify and YouTube and iTunes and everything, you can get your hands on almost any piece of music, but it's so easy to just skip around, skip here, skip there. And you know, I would ask you, when's the last time you spent time, just plopped yourself down on a couch or in a chair and sat there and absorbed an album through a good stereo system? You probably don't even have one, because who has a good stereo system anymore? Or in headphones, you know, just sat down in headphones and listened to some music, or really engaged, really tried to get yourself inside of that music and almost place yourself in that environment. What does this sound and feel like if I'm that guy standing there and the drums are over here or the piano's over here, putting yourself in that environment? So back to this track, Junk Blues. I'm gonna give you a list of things that just through listening to it multiple times, and I sat there for an afternoon and just in headphones, I was blown away by this album. And so I went digging to do a little research too, which I'm gonna get to. So there's musical observations and then there's contextual observations, okay? So first let's go over a couple of the musical observations. Right around 3 minutes and 15 seconds, that lick that he plays, classic Joe Henderson. If you don't listen to a lot of Joe Henderson, and if you haven't studied, or any player, right? If you don't know they're playing over a period of time, you won't know what things are idiomatic to that player. I mean, in any given scenario, they're gonna play all sorts of stuff, but there's gonna be certain things that are very Sonny Stitt, or very Sonny Rollins, or that's very Joshua Redman, or that's very Chris Potter. In this case, that little section, I recognize that as something that's very Joe Henderson. I mean, that's a thing you hear him do a lot. This modal playing on this track, this is like fiery burning, but sort of inside, harmonically inside modal playing. Alternating between walking, swing, and ostinato. They go about 16 bars of playing with the time stays the same, but they're kind of having this ostinato figure, bump 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 to a boom doom 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 doom. It never gets too boring because they break it up that way. This I wrote down that this really foreshadowed a lot of the Kenny Garrett style of burnout tunes. So in Kenny Garrett's work, you'll find a lot of these short heads and followed by long stretches of blowing, especially live on, you know, A minor or G minor. Also, just that the fact that it's a quartet and it's Rhodes, not piano. So we're so used to hearing the classic Coltrane quartet and it's McCoy Tyner on piano, but this is an interesting twist because it's Rhodes. Notice how the Rhodes comps for the bass solo and how he switches over to almost doing these guitar swells, like volume swells. And also goes up into the high register of the Rhodes, so these not conflicting frequencies with where the bass is soloing. Finally, there's no real head or discernible melody. I mean, this thing is basically is pure energy from start to finish. It's about 15 minutes of just go, you know? It's so vibey, and it's just, you can just feel the, again, if you're listening in headphones especially, you can feel the energy that's not only between them, but with the crowd and whatnot. And I just think it's such an important way to absorb this music. It's not, you're not going to get nearly as much out of it if it's just on in the background, or if you're clicking on YouTube or Spotify or wherever, you know, whatever, and you're just like, oh yeah, you're just hearing it. Like, you want to get inside this and really investigate it.